All right, all right, all right. Scare babies coming at you. Our sponsor today is Ask Cheeves. I'm just reminiscing about the last few videos we had. So, welcome to this live stream, Gaming for Generations number 3. Super excited to talk some more about my gaming experiences throughout the decades here. Thank you for being here. I posted a new short on Monday, June 10th, if you want to check it out. I think it's rather entertaining. And let's see what else. I've also been kind of uploading semi daily image polls too, if you'd like to check them out. They're moderately amusing too. So thank you so much for being here. Oh, Rue with the View is here. Welcome, welcome to the party. So we've had 2 gaming live streams before this. We talked about Atari and Nintendo and Sega, Super Nintendo, Genesis, into N64 and the original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, the original Xbox. Did I say GameCube? GameCube as well. Went through tons of different games over the generations, and now I can't keep track of the numbers. I think we're now in the 9th generation with PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. I think we're 9, so I guess this would be 7 that we're coming up on. But wanted to talk today about my intro into the 7th gen, I guess. We'll go with that. Into the Xbox 360. So, spoiler alert, I had and have an Xbox 360 and a PS3. I actually got the 360 first. So, after the PS2 and everything, I was trying hard. Yeah, it really was, Tim. Best era of games, 360 and PS3. I was adamant about not getting a new console. I think I mentioned in the other streams that I was trying to give up on gaming of sorts several times over, and it didn't work out that way. So here we are. I get to talk about it now more than I get to play, but that's all good. Growing up or something. So I wasn't planning to get an Xbox 360, but I had some friends. We were in college. They had a place at Case Western, and it was 2 or 3 of them, friends of a friend, and they were huddled around like a 23-inch, 25-inch tops tube TV. In fact, it might have been smaller. And they were playing co-op Gears of War, and I was blown away, and I fell in love. And even on that tiny TV, it blew my mind seeing the cover shooting mechanics, and just they were in an area I remember vividly. It was one where I can't remember what they're called, berserkers or something, and you're in this building and there are these columns and you're having to run away from this berserker as it blasts through these columns. And it was super intense, and you had these super macho ridiculous soldier guys, but the shooting looked super tight. It was just incredible. And shortly thereafter, I didn't have that much money. I didn't want to buy a new one. I told myself, all right, I'm going to look for some used ones on eBay. Going to look for a 360 on eBay, a used one. And if you know anything about 360 consoles, foreshadowing, not good. I told myself I'm going to put in a bid on this 360. If I get it, great. If not, so be it. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I got the 360. So within a year, I think it actually died. So that was pretty sweet. So I ended up buying another one. That's a whole other tale. But so right now I have one of the dark gray, black. I think maybe had a 20 gig hard drive with it instead of like the 2 or something. But anyway, had to get Gears of War. So incredible. Gears 1, 2, and 3, just phenomenal games. I still play some of them. Gears 4 and 5. I'll get into that later, but with my buddy on here, Rue with a View. Yeah, his Xbox took a dump too. That Red Ring of Death era, or the system would crash even if it wasn't the legit Red Ring of Death. Those things were not made well. They died in the thousands or millions. I don't even know. Yeah, chainsaw noises. The Lancer, a chainsaw gun, a machine gun with a chainsaw attached. Overdone. Chef's kiss to the Lancer. I can't remember what it's called, but the Lancer Junior, the one before the Lancer we all know and love with like the um, bayonet or something on the end. It's not as steady of firing, and chainsaw. That's where it's at. So allegedly, they're coming out with the new Gears of War soon, E-Day. So that's exciting. I don't have an Xbox for that, so there's that. But maybe I'll get a really swank PC. But anyway, Gears of War, that whole series is just so good, so visceral, so fun. I love co-op gaming, oftentimes more than just single player gaming, and playing through Gears and Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 with Rue with a View and my buddy Chris. It was incredible. I remember that generation, Halo 3, that beautiful crown jewel. I remember back in the day before digital games were a big thing. Halo 3, I waited outside for a midnight launch at a GameStop for hours before it opened at midnight and took that baby home. And man, that game is a gem. It's a gem. And Rue with a View would tell you they don't make them like they used to. That's for sure. The original 3 were tremendous. And that was a lot of fun. And now you can just download the game or pre-download it and you're ready to go. But it's kind of like going to a movie theater on opening night of a new Star Wars or Marvel movie or something, and just everyone's so stoked. Stoked? Anyone say stoked? Hyped to play the game and really dig their teeth into it. So I kind of miss those days. But yeah, Rue with the View says hopes his PC can run Gears. Yeah, it's Gears, I guess, E-Day. So it's a prequel, younger Marcus Phoenix and stuff. I just heard about it today too. There's a new Doom coming out as well. So real quick, behind me is a little bit in shambles. I am in the process with my wife of moving my stuff out of here into the attic, which sounds bad, but it's a nice attic, to set up my studio in there and open up this room for other purposes. So to actually have a room again. But yeah, so the next live stream we do might actually be in that attic in the other room. So we'll see. And the other thing to note is I fell into the wood chipper. My my hairstylist got a little clipper happy. So it's my summer due. So how about that? But anyway, Gears, Halo 3, those were really the pinnacle for me. I mean, there's the racing games, the Forzas, and stuff like that. I know I'm missing an absolute crap ton of games for the 360. There were tons of amazing RPGs. There was Fable, for one. There were like the Dragon Age games, Mass Effect, stuff like that. BioShock was multi-platform, but dang, that game was good. I played it on 360. Resident Evil 5, I had on 360. Played that extensively in co-op. People hate on that game, but co-op, it was a lot of fun. Played through it several times over. But that's really that. You know what? I forgot to mention Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I played the snot out of that on Xbox 360. And as a throwback to probably the last live stream, I bought the X-Men arcade game and the Simpsons arcade game and have those on my Xbox 360. And man, I talked about how you can just chuck $20 in quarters at those arcade games back in the day. And yeah, they'll shred you. You have no life at all. But you can sit down and beat the X-Men arcade game in 30 minutes. And it's fantastic every time. Play as different characters. So from there, I had a 360, so I was like, well, probably gonna have to get a PlayStation 3 as well. So I wasn't hard pressed to get a PS3. When they first came out, they were $600, and I was not gonna do that. This was way too much. Over time, with the price drop, I ended up buying one because I wanted to get one with the hardware backwards compatibility. I really wanted to be able to play my PS2 and PS1 games natively on the PS3. My Black Beauty, as I call it, my 60 gig original PS3 has video output issues. Sad. So I ended up later getting one of the, not the slim PS3, but the super slim. And I don't even know how easy they are to come by now, but kind of a cheaper top upper tray. But the point is, the PS3 was awesome. It had a slower start. And I mean, I guess if we're keeping score of who won that generation, the 360 probably did fairly handily. But especially in the later years of the PS3, like it came roaring back. I mean, God of War 3 alone didn't come out till 2010. And I think the PS3 launched in November of 2006. So, I mean, it was a late bloomer. God of War 2, like, was at the tail end of the PS2. But as I am obsessed with God of War, thank you, Phil, from back in the day, I had to play God of War 3. God of War 3 was one of those, nerd alert. I was working in retail at the time, and I requested the day off it was in March of 2010. I requested the day off to just play the game all friggin' day. And I did. And it was amazing. God of War 3 is so good. God of War 2 is still my favorite, I think, of all time, of the original style. The new God of Wars are incredible. Sadly, I haven't gotten through Ragnarok yet, but God of War 3 was just so friggin' brutal, and the graphics are stunning. I have it again on the PS4, the remastered version. It's just buttery smooth, 60 frames per second. But those God of War games are just phenomenal. All of them, really. So I'm going to check in, see what people said here. So Rue with a View says, finally trying the Lego Marvel games. Playing the first right now. Nice. My wife and I played that game, I believe, Lego Marvel Superheroes, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I know they have a sequel too. Haven't touched that one yet, but the first one was really a lot of fun. I know they get a bad rap sometimes. It's just they're kiddie games or something, but they're a lot of fun. They are. It doesn't have to all be chainsaws and, well, it kind of does, but they're good. They're really good. So with the PlayStation 3, other games that came out were the Infamous series. Now I know there was I never got to play it. There was the multi-platform game Prototype, and that one had a similar kind of feel. You're a superhero, but not like a DC or Marvel, well-known superhero. I never played Prototype. I doubt it would hold up now, but I'd kind of like to go back to it. But Infamous was nuts. Oh, Yellow. No worries, Yellow. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Just talking about blasted through Xbox 360. Now we're talking about some PS3. So Infamous 1 and 2 are incredible. So there's this, essentially a bomb goes off and you are endowed with some electric-based superpowers. That's really all you need to know. But so you start as this no-namer and you get more and more powers, acquire more and more electric powers. It could be just a little zap. It could be like an air blast that you can use to knock people off of trains. I'll do that. Like a Hadouken, but it's just like air. You have like a sniper shot, which is incredible, that you can zoom in with, of course. You got like a shield. There was a pre-order bonus that you could put like lightning, like blades on your fists to fight. And the story was super cool. It was a mature setting. And I mean, Cole was pretty awesome, the protagonist. and it had a cool, just really cool story, cool side characters. And yeah, this is a side note, but a lot of people to this day still think of video games as just Mario or I don't know, Pokemon or even Lego or just like something that's more kid friendly or kid appropriate or something. And when you think of games like Gears of War and God of War and Call of Duty, World at War, and other things at war, Warhammer, whatever, they've really aged and matured with the people that are playing these games. And it's awesome. So, and you know what? There's kind of a stigma with it, but when we are older, the people younger than us probably won't have to go through that. I'm not saying we're persecuted or something, but it's sometimes gaming can be frowned upon, but more and more it's just an amazing hobby. It's so much fun. Spider-Man. Yes, absolutely, Yellow. And we're not there yet, sadly, because PS3, there wasn't, I mean, there was actually a Spider-Man game or two on, I lied. Spider-Man 2 that came out on PS2 and GameCube was incredible and really laid the groundwork for the Spider-Mans later. So my mistake. And they did have the movie-based video games from the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, and you could actually put in a code and play as Green Goblin and fly around on his hoverboard, which is pretty neat. So yeah, thank you for being here, Yellow, and Rue, you as well. So Infamous 1 and 2. Yeah, I mean, you're just a no-name superhero, but it was really cool that you could play as good or evil. So, like Fable, the game, the RPG toyed with that too. And, if you were good, you'd look more, I don't know, heroic. And if you were bad and like started doing evil deeds, kicking people's chickens or killing good people, then, your skin would like start to get pale or you'd get like weird veins in your face and you grow like horns and stuff. And Infamous tried really hard to do this good and evil thing, but there's really no gray area. So, I talked about getting trophies in the past, like achievements on Xbox, trophies on PlayStation. I have all the let's try it again. I have all the platinum trophies for all the Infamous games. So proud. My mom would be so proud. My wife is so proud. But the Infamous games, one of the trophies is you have to beat the game as good, and then the other trophy you have to beat the game as evil. So I have a really hard time. I have a really hard time playing games as a bad guy because I like to think I'm a good guy and be a good guy. So I really struggle to be the bad guy. So but I had to kind of force myself to do it. So I played the first Infamous and second as good on normal difficulty. Yeah, I'm super hardcore. And then I would play it on hard mode as the evil guy because you don't have to worry about splash damage, collateral damage. So instead of like sniper shots and stuff like that, when you're evil, you've got rockets and like cluster grenades. So you can just spam the crap out of that stuff to kill the bad guys. And if you hit civilians, oh well. And I'll tell you what, it takes me a while to get into that mindset. Once you lock into it, it's pretty sweet to just unleash and just take out all the bad guys and not worry. Because man, is good. Trying to do all those sniper shots is tricky biz. But there's no incentive to be somewhat good and somewhat bad. Like there's really you're actually, penalizing yourself. You're much better going all blue, all good, or all red, all evil. So it's kind of funny. Like they give you the choice. Like you'd want to mix it up throughout. Like I don't know if you're like you stubbed your toe that morning, so you're like, oh, I'm not going to save that person. I'm not going to save that innocent person. So then you're part evil. I don't know. It was an interesting concept. What's not an interesting concept is changing the character design completely for the second game for Cole McGrath, the main character, and changing his voice. I mean, I guess changing his voice with changing his look would be better than changing his look with the same voice. Well, Spider-Man did it. But totally bonkers. I like the first one. I don't know if the second one was better received, but whatever. whatever. So the Infamous games. There were more too later on the PS4, but on the PS3, Infamous 1 and 2 were just great. I'm going to check out my yeah little notes here. Let's see. Yeah, Green Goblin mode. That was awesome. And you know what? If I recall, you put a code in, you didn't have to buy DLC or microtransactions to do it. If I sound salty about that stuff, it's because I am. Back in my day, that stuff didn't exist. But anyway, we're going to keep it positive. So let's see. Light side all the way. Thank you, Rue. I had some friends. Oh, Subaru. I don't know what that was. Oh, Yellow said hi to Sue. What's up, Subaru? We're getting past your prime of gaming, Subaru. I'm sorry to say. But yeah, Rue, light side all the way. I had a friend that always wanted to be the evil guy, and I was starting to wonder. And I was like, I guess better to be evil in a game than in real life. But I mean, like, I don't know. I always wanted to be the hero, the knight, not the enemy. But to each their own. So yeah, yellow struggles do that too when they're innocent, for sure. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Rue says Subaru and Rue with a view. Fallout. Yeah, neutral karma mechanic. Allegedly, The Witcher 3, which I still need to play. Shame on me. I know it's one of the best games ever, apparently. The Witcher 3 has a lot of gray area that you can, I think it changes the story along the way, maybe the ending. Don't quote me on that, but it's pretty neat that you can actually make choices in the game where it's not just save innocent person, let them die. Like it's a little too tame, a little lame and tame. So guess we'll have to ask Cheeves what he thinks. Ooh, oh, Marcus Maximus is here. Welcome. Got the little dude to bed. Thanks for being here. My villain name, if I had to choose one. Wow. I'll have to think on that whilst talking, whilst reading. I always thought it was whilst, but I guess it's whilst. Villain name. I'll have to come back to you with that. See, I haven't thought of that because I'm a good guy. Yeah, Witchers. I own the first Witcher thing and the second. Xbox gave them away for free, but I kind of feel like I just need to jump in to The Witcher 3. So here we are. If I didn't say it already, I meant to say so in the beginning. We're going to run this train right off the tracks till about 9 o'clock. See how we go. So it's feedback. Yeah, that's true. That's an insider right there. So I mentioned Infamous, God of War 3. Devil May Cry 4 came out as well. That was on PS3 and 360, but I happened to play it on the PS3. I think I actually played it on the 360 as well. Don't ask me why, it's dumb. But as I said, with the PS2 games, the Devil May Cry series is one of my all-time favorites, and the God of War series as well. And I talked about how I felt like God of War was largely ripping off a lot of Devil May Cry. And while they do to an extent anymore, at this point, the way God of War is not at all really. But Devil May Cry 4 came out, played the crap out of that, had a lot of backtracking in it. You played as a new guy, Nero, and then Dante like halfway through. But that game, along with God of War 3 was way better, but those games are both fantastic. Yeah, I just saw the corner of my eye. Yellow, absolutely. Devil May Cry is bonkers. It's just the combos that you can do are unbelievable. I mean, you're using a sword and then you're shooting something with pistols in the air. Then you're using a shotgun. You've got a rocket launcher. It's insane. And in Devil May Cry 5, spoiler alert, like you can like rip pieces of like a motorcycle off, and then you're like fighting and bashing demons with a motorcycle. It's absurd, and the stories are absurd, and they're so much fun. And I feel like it would be so campy and probably tank terribly at the box office and more than likely be terrible. But I could see a live action Devil May Cry, and I would much prefer that to them doing what's already in production, God of War TV show or something on Amazon Prime. And I am really not thrilled. Apparently, the Last of Us adaptation is fantastic. I haven't played The Last of Us either. I lied. That's one of those titles where it's like, are there any games that you should have played that everyone loves that you haven't played? Zelda, and then Last of Us. But in my defense, I tried Last of Us twice. The second time I got further, I got like a half an hour in, and I got to like a market, and I got bored, or something happened in my life, and I stopped. I'm gonna have to give it another go. So apologies to all the Last of Us fans out there, but I know it's incredible. Two other series that were top notch were Resistance and Uncharted. I'm sure many of you have heard of Uncharted. So before I jump into Resistance, I'm going to check what we got going here. Let's see. Worst game I've ever played. I will also have to think about that one, Mark. That is a great question. Yeah, Rue, you have to play 5. It is like under 20 bucks and so good. 4 is worth playing, and if you care about the story and stuff, that would help. But yes, that too. Yellow, I have to play Red Dead Redemption and quit my job, leave my wife, never play guitar again. And to be honest, Yellow, I have gone out of my way to not play Red Dead Redemption 2 as much as I would love to, because I know it's like crack cocaine and I'll just be sucked into that game, kind of like a Skyrim scenario for hundreds of hours. Ah, Susu Subaru, thanks, man. It really brings out the growing forehead in my hair. Yeah, thanks. It is sharp. It's my friggin' spikes. She went a little crazy with my hair, but you know, summer dew and all. So natural and beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. So Resistance was one of the first games. Oh, thanks, Yellow. Thanks. Appreciate it. You don't get to see it a lot when I'm wearing my awesome Marvel masks, courtesy Susu Subaru and crew. So if I didn't mention that before, side note, all my Marvel masks were given to me as, gag gifts that I have employed in my venture to be an independent billionaire on YouTube. So we'd go on our golf trips, annual golf trips, unless I can't go. But and I got my Miles Morales, which is wrong way. There we go. Ooh, Miles Morales back there. My Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thor, Wolverine. Yeah, and the Thor came with the hammer. Yeah, they really set me up. So I know they were kind of mocking me, but joke's on them. Now I have not quite 500 subscribers and like 170,000 views on my channel. So there. Good thing they're not here for my music. I appreciate all of you. I really do. And I appreciate the all my toys, my masks. So Resistance was, I think, the first game I got on the PS3. And it was like it's a first-person shooter, but it was like a World War II game with a, alternate history where aliens have attacked, and that's what's going on. But they were called the Chimera, and they look super cool. They're like aliens, but their heads kind of look like skulls, so they're kind of like BA aliens. And the gunplay in it was awesome, and the guns and the gun mechanics in it were absolutely incredible. Like they had this one, can't even remember what it was called, but you could tag one of these aliens, one of these Chimera. So you'd run out behind a wall, tag them, and then you could run back behind the wall and shoot out, and the bullets would actually curve around and I don't know, heat-seeking missiles of sorts, homing missile bullets would rip around the corner and just take out these enemies. And there were so many other great guns. Awesome grenades you could throw that were just frag grenades that would explode out with spikes, stuff like that. But that series progressed and just got better and better, in my opinion. 2 ballooned out and got pretty crazy big. 3 was like a tighter, smaller story, but highly recommend them. Live music. I don't have any guitars around. But then Uncharted. There's a movie based on that series starring our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, Tom Holland, with Mark Wahlberg as well. I have not seen it because I am scared to. I've heard it's actually pretty decent for what it is and based on a video game. But, I mean, it's Spider-Man 2 playing Nathan Drake. I don't know. But Uncharted, I mean, it was essentially the Indiana Jones type series. It was funny because there were all the Tomb Raider games, if you guys remember those, Lara Croft and all that weirdness. But all those Tomb Raider games seriously influenced the Uncharted games. And then the newer Tomb Raider games came out heavily influenced by Uncharted. And now, even more interestingly, Xbox, Microsoft, whatever, is coming out with an Indiana Jones game for Xbox, probably coming to PS5 at some point. And I imagine they're going to borrow heavily from obviously their own lore, but then they're going to follow Tomb Raider, who followed Uncharted, and then Uncharted followed Tomb Raider. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. Apparently it's first person though, which I think was an odd choice. So I talked a lot about the PS3, and that's because I love it. So, and live music, hopefully recorded music sooner than later. As I mentioned, the room's in shambles because we're kind of remodeling, moving some stuff around. I really, really, really want to get recording the final version of the newest song. Spoiler alert, it's called Wolves. Wolves. Like, ooh. No, we're going to edit that out in post. But yeah. So I'm ready to do the final draft. It's just been a matter of time and getting it right. So, and I'm going to outsource the mixing this time because 1, it takes me way too long, and 2, there are other people that are way better at it. So, classic Indiana Jones. There's a Lego Indiana Jones too. So, talked about the 360, one of the best consoles ever. In terms of games, the console itself, the hardware was pretty flaky. So, but PS3. So what was next? Xbox One. The naming conventions on these Xboxes. I know this joke has been beaten to death, but like Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series S or X. Then there was Xbox One S, Xbox One X. I mean, they could have paid me to come up with better names. Just saying. So Xbox One came out and Titanfall was out. Awesome mech first-person shooter. Killer Instinct. I hope I mentioned Killer Instinct. Yes, Rue. It is obnoxious. The dumbest naming. Confuse the crap out of parents buying the systems for people and the people buying the systems. But I initially got an Xbox One because I had played the reboot Tomb Raider and loved it. And Rise of the Tomb Raider. Rise of the Tomb Raider came out on Xbox One. It happened to be a timed exclusive, but apparently in my awesome patience, couldn't handle it. So I literally got an Xbox One to play Rise of the Tomb Raider primarily. And that game is incredible. I've not played through all Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the third one, but Rise of the Tomb Raider was just amazing. So good. So Killer Instinct, I played a crap ton on about. Let's try that again. I played a crap ton of Killer Instinct on Super Nintendo and with my cousins, and still do. Amanda and Katie, this is for you. So, for you. But Killer Instinct on Xbox One is a total blast. And then Titanfall, the shooter with the mechs and everything, is totally awesome. But then Gears of War 4 and 5, or Gears of War 4 and Gears 5, I guess it's Gears of War, were great games. Gears of War 4 was kind of a rehash to an extent, but I enjoyed it enough. Gears 5 was actually really impressive, and they had some like open world elements, and the shooting was great, and just the story was cool, and really impressed with that. Now, yes, Rear says pleasant surprise, absolutely, especially 5, because 4 they like brought in like robots and stuff, and instead of fighting the normal baddies, and that was kind of weird. It was like playing Transformers or something. But overall, like, I don't really play racing games. Sorry, Subaru. Ridge Racer back in the day. And like Forza, I know is Xbox's big racing franchise. And then PlayStation has Gran Turismo. Xbox One, I want to keep this positive, but I'm going to say this. Xbox One really, really, really disappointed me in terms of just quantity of games, quality of games. Just they dropped the ball pretty hard. So I wasn't too happy owning that to an extent, but Gears of War 4 and 5 are excellent. So can't complain too much. So Xbox One. I also got a PS4. This time it was the PS4 first. So I should have put these on my list differently. The PS4 was first, and the PS4 birthed maybe 5 of my favorite games of all time. And yes, 4 out of the 5, well, 3 out of the 5 are sequels, but, so here they are. Sorry to keep you in suspense. So God of War 2018, just called God of War, again with the naming conventions. I was so scared out of my mind that they were going to botch it with God of War. And I don't know why I didn't have faith in Cory Barlog, because he took over to make God of War 2, which I've said before is my favorite God of War game. I don't know if I can say by far, but it is definitively of the old era. But apparently God of War had a lot of struggles when they were developing it, and it really didn't come together till like the last 6 months. But that game is just dynamite. It is near perfection, and it took what I loved and matured it, brought it into the modern day. They got rid of some of the gratuitous gore that was over the top, and just matured it, and just Kratos matured, and the story with his son was just so awesome. It was amazing. And a lot of people were like, oh, it's kind of like a Last of Us. I'm like, well, I didn't play Last of Us, but the gameplay was just phenomenal. So Devil May Cry 5. So Devil May Cry 5 on PS4, also on Xbox One. One of the most amazing and entertaining and action-oriented games ever. It's bonkers. It's so fast. As Yellow was talking about, it's insane. It's insane. Like, it has to be all reflex. You're shifting between different guns, between different swords, different melee attacks, different projectile attacks. Just, it's crazy, and the story's nuts, and just 5 just up the ante even more. And since 3, like the first one obviously set the stage and is great, 3 was the gold standard, and in my mind 5 is right up there, maybe even better. I mean, graphically, but you play as 3 different combatants, actually technically 4 if you play as Virgil in the special edition. Speaking of that, Devil May Cry 5 is available on the PS5 and Xbox Series special edition with Virgil, and it's higher refresh rate and all that garbaggio. So, and the music is a bop. Yeah. The music in the Devil May Cry games are friggin' fantastic too. So I mentioned Infamous before on the PS3. Well, guess what? PS4, one of the earlier games in the PS4, and you can tell now kind of by the graphics a bit, they just get better with the hardware later in the cycle. Infamous Second Son, and then later the DLC Infamous First Light. Platinum trophies, of course, just incredible. And they took the mold, different powers. You could have concrete powers, and you had smoke powers, and just they expanded it ever more so. And the world was bigger. It was just incredible. So Horizon Zero Dawn was on the PS4, and now there's Horizon Forbidden West on the PS5. But Horizon Zero Dawn, it's essentially like it's it's robot dinosaurs. You're fighting robot dinosaurs. And I probably mentioned in a previous live stream that I love friggin' dinosaurs, and robots are awesome. So if you put robots and dinosaurs together, pretty much guaranteed hit. But that game, the story is crazy and convoluted, but super awesome. The gameplay is incredible. I mean, you've got these different bows and different elements. You know, you might have like a fire arrow. You could have freeze arrows, shock arrows, but you're aiming at these giant, like a T-Rex robot dinosaur, and you're actually pinpointing different sections on the robot to take out their armor strategically, to take them down faster, more efficiently, stuff like that, where you can knock off parts of them that are used to attack you, knock off parts that you can use for your own weapons. Like, it's just super well done. And I platinumed that game. I played that game for way too long, and I've barely gotten to touch the newer one. But if you have a PS4, Horizon Zero Dawn, amazing, and so cheap now. Oh, how about this game? I don't know if you guys have heard of this game or this character before, but Spider-Man. Yeah. Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4. Amazing. So good. I mean, they really took what Spider-Man 2, based on the movie, started, and just really drew it out from there, and just fleshed out. The city is so great, the story is so great, the side characters, Aunt May and Mary Jane, Miles later, Doc Ock, spoiler alert. The story is nuts. The dialogue's amazing, like little cool side quests. Some are kind of annoying, but they're all kind of cutesy, and some are really clever and neat, putting DNA samples together and stuff like that to solve puzzles. But they borrowed pretty heavily from Batman, those games. I wish that weren't the case to an extent, but if it ain't broke. But they really, really polished the Spider-Man gameplay. I mean, it's like Batman kind of on steroids. It's just, you've got the aerial aspects. It's just so smooth and fast, all the webbing. And these guys made Ratchet and Clank prior to that. Insomniac, the developer, kudos to you. It is just a fantastic game. I don't know, just swinging, feels incredible, just diving down toward the streets below New York and swinging up and around. And the cutscenes and just everything with that game they really nailed. You know what they didn't nail? Spoiler alert. There are missions where you have to play as Mary Jane. Just going to let that sink in for a second. It's a game called Spider-Man, where everyone has the fantasy of being Spider-Man. And you're Peter Parker a lot in it too, to be fair. But no one asked to play as Mary Jane. No one. And there are like 3 or 4 different chapters playing as Mary Jane. One of them is neat, for lack of a better word, with what you're doing. But it's like, no. Yeah. So let's see. I'm going back to it. Du-du-du. The music for Yellow. Spider-Man 4. Yeah. So good. Spider-Man was near perfect, says Rue with a View, but it took too much from Batman. Agreed. Agreed. And the MJ missions, they were filler. Yeah, they were stealth, but they did lean into stealth missions too with Spider-Man. They did, which was a little weird because he's not really too stealthy. He's more like, hey, I'm here and I'm ready to bash you. But I thought for sure for Spider-Man 2, which I did play through and finally got through a month or two ago, maybe, still had some Mary Jane missions. Better, but still not welcome. But hey, they didn't ask me, and they still sold millions of copies, millions. So yeah, there's that. Let's see what we got. Yeah, just filler. So that leaves that leaves us there with that. And I mean, I love the Batman Arkham series. I really do, very very much. And they really pioneered that style of fighting. It was just awesome. And I am sad a bit that Spider-Man did pull from that pretty heavily. But again, they nailed it, and the swinging mechanics are just incredible. So I need to come up with more adjectives. So I had an Xbox Series X. I had an Xbox Series X. Where were the games? Where are the games? I'm trying to keep this positive, but it was kind of a fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. I feel like I'm in that George W. Bush SNL skit. Um, but I got burned by the Xbox One, not really getting too much out of it. But I was kind of like, all right, whatever. Series X, I had it, and just there weren't any games coming out. And if there were, they were multi-platform. I'm not trying to hate on Xbox. I've had, as I've said, all of them. But I was disappointed up to this point. It looks like they're kind of gearing up with the new Summer Game Fest to push out some new games, but the quality games and consistent quality games, quantity of games just hasn't been there. And I ended up selling the Xbox Series X and promptly kind of turned around and got a Nintendo Switch. So stupidly on me, I still don't have time to play that as much either, but I was furious. They fooled me. Yes, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me chicken soup with rice. Boom. There it is. There it is. Thank you, Rue. I knew I was going to mess it up as soon as I said it out loud. I never mess it up unless I have to, say it in front of the camera. So, but I am getting a Nintendo Switch. So I've only had that for like a year. No, I have not played all the way through Breath of the Wild, but I do own it. I will hopefully return to that sooner than later. I kind of stocked up on some bangers, as the kids say, for that system. I've got Metroid Prime Remastered, which I played Metroid Prime on the GameCube back in the day. I think I mentioned it a live stream or two ago, and that game is just phenomenal. So I started playing through that. I'm a little bit into Breath of the Wild, and I bought Hades, which is an awesome indie game, roguelike, roguelite, whatever, where you just keep dying and starting over and over again, which sounds like a lot of fun, but starting from scratch. It's kind of like the old Nintendo games, where you'd start and make it to the 5th level and your 3 lives are done and you start at the very beginning and you do it again and you do it again. But now we brought that into modern gaming. So, but Hades is awesome. Per the love that I've shared for God of War, Hades is a game revolving around Greek mythology. God of the underworld, Hades, you play as his son trying to escape the underworld. But it's colorful and funny and smart and just awesome and addictive gameplay. And I went on vacation last year, and those 3 games were the games I played. I've also picked up Metroid Dread. I have not played it other than the demo, but I have a stockpile of these great Switch games, and I just need to go on vacation and not drive and ignore the person I'm riding with and see how that goes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Chicken soup with rice. So yeah, I got the Switch, and I love that it's such a cool concept. I know it's an old system. It's 2017. But man, it has some great games. The ability to dock it or take it with you it's brilliant. I haven't gotten into the other handhelds. I've never really been a handheld guy, but I have the OLED version, and the screen looks friggin' awesome. So I was debating whether I wanted to carry this into the next one for the current gen, but I'm going to touch on PS5. If we go a little over, hopefully you're okay with that. So I mentioned the Series X, and I really, 2 systems in a row. Where were the games? But I've had a PS5 pretty much all along. So awesome story. I don't know if it's an awesome story. You guys are going to be like, that's stupid. But the PS5s and the Series X for a very, very long time were very hard to come by. The chip shortage and just the massive amount of scalping that was going on. People were losing their heads. I mean, it was just, it's a scalping joke. It's my bedtime. PS5s were incredibly hard to come by. So I remember PlayStation they were trying to fight the scalping. So through their website, I'd tried through Best Buy, I'd tried through everything else. People kept saying the best way to acquire a PS5 would be through PlayStation Store directly. So I had tried on several occasions. The one time we knew that they were going to open the queue, it would just randomly happen. They would open the queue in like 20 minutes or something, or 45 minutes. It was insanity. And so my wife, Angela, and we had multiple laptops. I think we had 3 laptops and our phones, and I think a desktop. That sounds crazy, but we have work computers. So that's what you use them for work. We had multiple computers, multiple phones out, and we miraculously got in and were able to buy one. And by we, I mean my lovely wife. She was the one who got in, was able to pull the trigger to get a PS5 to continue my journey into gaming throughout the rest of my life until I'm too old to see the screen, I guess. So just a few outstanding titles to mention. So you'll notice a theme here again. Playing God of War 2018 on the PS5, smoother than ever. God of War Ragnarok, not beaten yet. That's next on the list, amongst the other things in life. Spider-Man 2, I mentioned. If the first game was amazing, Miles Morales was incredible too, the game in the middle. If the first game was amazing, they have Miles Morales, Spider-Man 2 with both of them, and just the story, friggin' Venom, spectacular. Like, I was blown away. I was giddy playing Spider-Man 2. I'm not going to spoil some stuff that I almost spoiled myself on, but just Venom and Kraven. Oh my gosh, ridiculous. So good. Lizard, and it was phenomenal. I mean, the gameplay was nuts. The dialogue, the story, set pieces. I mean, there were definite improvements. The one thing I will mention that I thought was the best thing they could do, and I don't know if this will make sense to everyone, but If you played Ratchet and Clank, which there's a Ratchet and Clank on PS5 that I've not played, Ratchet and Clank had this system where you'd hold the one shoulder button down, I think it was R1, and it would bring up a wheel of your abilities and like, not abilities in this case, but guns and stuff. And then you could switch, pick the gadget you want or gun, keep playing, bring up the wheel, do it again. But it kind of broke up the flow of what was going on. So in Spider-Man, you could pick one and then you could have another and you could fast switch between them with like a double click of the trigger. But to me, I rarely switched off of just my standard web shooters unless I had to or was like overwhelmed in the fights. But in 2, they did something that was bloody brilliant. And for these alternate gadgets and attacks, so like if you had a concussion blast against someone or this machine that boosted the enemies in the air, you'd hold R1 and then hit a face button, square, triangle, X, circle, or hold L1 and do square, triangle, X, circle, one of those to do like the legs, the Spider-Man legs, robotic legs to come out and attack. And I was like, thank you. Like, I wish they could go back and like patch that into the original because it kept you in the moment. You weren't messing around with different menus. It was lovely. Friggin' loved it. So Spider-Man 2, without question, worth the price of entry on a PS5, if you ask me. God of War Ragnarok also could be played on PS4, definitely better on PS5. Spider-Man 2 was one of the first, well, one of the few that have been PS5 only so far. Returnal is another one that I have. It's not one of those roguelikes where you die and you start all over again. But the scenery, the mood, the eeriness of this alien planet, these different biomes they call them, and the gunplay is so friggin' tight. It's arcade-like, and it's so good. And even though that game is too hard for me because I suck at gaming because I've only been gaming since I was like 6, so give me a break. It's so friggin' good. And then Horizon Forbidden West that I will get to. I played a little bit, and the graphics are amazing. And I'll tell you what, to really sum up this journey of all these games, gameplay is still king. Give me an amen in the chat if you agree. I am a graphics snob, I will admit. So when I see a new shiny, like Spider-Man looks phenomenal, God of War looks phenomenal, Horizon's incredible, but if the game doesn't play well or feel right, it doesn't matter. It's a game. It's not a picture. It's not a movie. It's a game. It's gameplay. And all these games I've mentioned just have that in spades. So whether it's Pac-Man or the original Mario or Sonic or Crash Bandicoot or Ratchet and Clank or Halo or Gears of War or Devil May Cry or God of War or Spider-Man or Hades or Zelda, it doesn't matter. The gameplay is king, and all of those games have that in spades and beyond. I just ask that they bring Dino Crisis back as a remake. Now, this isn't the end of our video gaming journey, and I appreciate everyone being here for sure. But what we need to encounter next, the next stream is going to be about gaming music, the music of games, video game music, the soundtracks to games, gaming soundtracks. Yes. And maybe there's a delay on my part. Rue, you're right. The priority on graphics. Like I said, I'm a self-proclaimed graphic snob, but the gameplay has to be there. I'm going to have to get back to Mark and tell him the game that I hated the most. Man, you try to block that stuff out. And I need to think of my villain name. Feedback. Yeah. Yeah, Castlevania 3. But yes, so not to totally derail myself, next live stream is going to be all about the music. And so many, all the evidence you need of how good video game music is and sound effects is just listen to anyone's random notification sounds. You're probably going to hear, ba-ding, ba-ding, the coins from Mario, or the one-up sound, which I'm not going to try to make that sound, or just all the people on YouTube and songs on Spotify of people that have made metal versions of, the Battletoads theme song and stuff like that. The music is phenomenal. And Rue with a View even mentioned, I think, in a previous one too, like it's often better than movies. Nice. Rue with a View. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that. People might get sick of hearing me all the time. That could be good. So, but if you guys think of games that really spoke to you, I don't know. If there are games that you really appreciate the music for, the soundtrack, even the sound effects, just like I said with Mario, or Sonic, when he spins up to race away, let me know in comments on one of these videos. I had that short from Monday. I'll have a new short next Monday. I've got these image polls going. Really hope I can get this song together. I greatly, greatly appreciate all of you being here, listening to my gaming rambling. I had fun. I certainly hope you did too. And on that note, I'll check you later. Peace.